So, actually, about the Twitch link thing, do I need to go to a place to get to ours? Because currently there's a different game showing.
It will show ours shortly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
so they just started the stream, so if it doesn't show up soon, just refresh.
Oh, will do.
And generally the way it works is that like really awkward thing that you just finished saying will be the first thing that hits the stream and gets recorded. So there it is. And I see you were blinking at the time, so yep, that was definitely your awkward question.
Yay.
Going through perfect. Hello, Twitch. I am Kasey, one of the names in the very, very long list of players that we have here. And we are waiting on one more player. While we wait, I think we can go ahead and run our intro. And this will be the last time we get to run the full intro for the full cast of characters, because next week we are splitting into 2 different sessions to run 5-person teams on 2 different quest lines in Rise of Tiamat out of the Tyranny of Dragons series. So, Sin, if you'd like to hit the button.
I will hit the button.
Okay.
Yay!
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 Woo!
And welcome back to the Rise of Tiamat. We currently have 9 players. Waverly was hiding at the very bottom of the list there. Waverly's back. We have 9 players.
I'm trying to increase for when Kitty shows up.
Yep, we're hopefully going to have 10 tonight as we are meeting in the area of Waterdeep with the lords and ladies of the area to discuss the ongoing situation with the dragons and the adventures the party has had. At the moment, Leosin is their companion and their guide. And there's Leosin. The party may remember having rescued Leosin from a slightly half-baked scheme to be captured by the cult members way back when in Greenest. At that point, they found out that Leosin was a member of the Harpers, and he enlisted them to assist him in tracking the cult as they made their way north with goods taken from several towns. Leosin introduced them to Onthar Froom. Onthar was found in the famed city of El Turel, a place of much paperwork, where library cards are given out like candy to all except a few people. Onthar is quite a personable fellow and really took a shine to the party. Encouraged them to continue along the way and offered some of the party membership into the Order of the Gauntlet, a heroic group of adventurers and good doers. The party then traveled along, made their way up and through, and eventually encountered a red wizard, Wrath Modar. Wrath has in his employ, or enslaved might be a better term, the mother of one of the party members, Valandra's mother, a water genie. The name of Merid, thank you, Merid, has been enslaved due to a broken deal by Wrath Modar, and a recent excursion by the party into the heart of Thay, into the Doom Vault itself, was able to briefly reunite them, but not free the Merid. About a year has passed since this adventure began, and the party has had the last 7 to 8 months or so to prepare themselves through the late summer, fall, winter, and now in early spring, back to Waterdeep. There, Leosin has pulled them aside, given them a quick briefing on what's going on, and soon they will be introduced into the Lords and Ladies Chamber of Waterdeep. The Open Lord of Waterdeep, the only member of the council who is well known at the time. Is that Kitty joining?
Yes, hello, hi, sorry.
Hello, hi. Welcome, welcome. We're just running up the catch up.
We're
and
all
where we're at
here.
Yay, she fits.
is yay!
Yay!
Where we're at is the Lords and Ladies of Waterdeep. The Open Lord of Waterdeep is Lord Dugalt Neverember. He is the current shown face of the council. The rest of the Lords and Ladies of Waterdeep are known as the Masked Lords and Ladies. Their names and identities unknown, save to a select few. Kind of an open secret.
Is Neverember Lord Humph, or was that someone else?
No, Lord Humph is the High Rider of El Turel.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That is Lord Humph. A good friend of Onthar Froom, but not attending the council at this time. Onthar is there in his stead, speaking on behalf of El Turel and the High Riders. But the party has been called forward to speak in council. Before we dive into that, though, the party has been doing odds and ends over the last 8 months or so. And a few of them have had some rather dramatic events happen to them. So I'd like to kind of open it up. As you are all getting back together, do any of you have any particular information you'd like to impart on stream here? Things that you'd like to cover in character as compared to the information that we've gathered off screen already together?
Don't everybody talk at once.
That's okay. They're all just looking around for seeing who's going to be the first one to jump on the blade. How about we poke a stick at Joey? Because I think that something needs to be said.
What did I call that? Called it.
So Joey is. I mean, are we assuming that we're at Waterdeep and we're literally all just walking there, and now we're arriving and re-meeting?
So I think that's pretty fair. So if none of you were like, hey, I really want to get this out of the way before we get to Waterdeep, and it sounds like everybody had some stuff to do. You were all aware of the situation, but maybe hadn't gone into detail because there wasn't much that could be done aside from starting to research it. So I would say Leosin has provided everyone with teleport scrolls if they were out of the immediate area. If you were next door, he knew about it. So you're all basically coming into one of several temples and then out into the streets of Waterdeep. Housing has been arranged for you, and now you are probably meeting up, all of you at the same time for the first time in a while, with 2 or 3 tag-alongs.
Yeah. So Joey would probably be rolling in and sans Chloe, which I'm sure most of the party by now would know, as we've been talking about it for a while. But the long and the short of it is, we were going around the coast to gather arms and capable people for this dragon threat. I mean, Joey, I could care less. I mean, we're gonna take the fight no matter what. But Chloe thought that this could be a real avenue, so we hit the islands on the west to try to find innovation and people. We went down to to try to find a good exchange rate, find some money. Hit the dwarves up in the east, not Mithril Hall. We went a little bit smaller. We went to the citadels in the northeast of the Sword Coast, not of Faerun. That would have been a while. And then we ended up traveling by this little town of Parnast. It's kind of small. It was really, like, the people there were just not with it. Chloe did her paladin thing, and we ended up finding like this ridiculous amount of necrotic energy coming from a house. I mean, I knew that there was something funky going on. It didn't feel like people were dying properly in that area. She looked into it, and yeah, there was a wizard who was cloning himself. We tried to take him out. I woke up like a mile out of town. Yeah, that's what happened. Shut up in your bubble. That's what happened. And Chloe was just gone. Like, I tried to find whoever I could. I couldn't find her at all. So I walked to Greenest. All I had left was my boy Blue here, and met up with Glenfellow, talked with him for a while, learned a little bit more, and now we're back in Waterdeep. It was a little windy, but
So, additional information that you all would have gathered about that situation. The deck of many things, it seems, was at the heart of the problem. And
Sorry.
the knowledge that the party had previously, due to some amazing research on this deck, reveals the basic option is that a dungeon was pulled and that Chloe is imprisoned somewhere. Some research into the arcane reveals that divination is not going to be helpful, but a wish spell could cause her to be located, and then you could pursue and potentially free her. She's probably not dead. She's probably not
Probably.
hurt.
Wait a minute.
Probably. But she cannot be found without some severe magics or godly intervention. And, while one of you is on speaking terms with the gods, the others maybe not so much. Anyone else? or reactions to that, of course.
So if we're saying that we hadn't met back up with Joey until this point, if I understand that correctly?
Not all of you at once. You've probably individually visited with each other, but this is the first time it's everybody in the same room at the same time.
Was
Oh, okay.
the deck mentioned, or was that kind of glossed over?
Joey?
I mean, I don't. I mean, it's the only logical jump. It's gone, and all of the stuff and things are gone, so probably mentioned as a possibility. And the research shows that it's almost definitely that.
But did Joey see her pull anything? I thought that was decided as no.
So it would have been he hadn't seen it happen, but based on what has happened and what the Wizard Wallace imparted was that this wasn't me. I don't know where she went. She just gone, but I did take all your stuff. That is the only real solution to the puzzle without invoking, unusual situations.
Oh, and that keep in Greenus, remember where we fought off that blue dragon? Yeah, that's Chloe's, and like shit's all really messed up in Greenus right now because she's not there to sign papers.
Also that.
Whoops.
So,
I don't think he'd say it to Joey, but there would probably maybe Valandra or Talace just kind of a little grumble of I told them, cause he did.
I feel like there was a lot of tail lashing up until the point that you got that out of your system, so that seems appropriate.
Oh my god.
So, beyond that, let's see what else we've got coming up new. We have the new party members, Plaut, the Tortle, accompanying Dusk back from an adventure to Chult. Harry the Kobold, along with Way, over the last few days has been suffering sudden pangs of anguish, like a shockwave is running through his body. We'll find out the reasoning for that one very shortly, but he is not doing well.
Oh.
Valandra and Talace, do you feel that we've got a pretty good recap of what's been going on with you guys, or anything you want to mention here?
I feel like it was mostly talked about last week.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. So then, as you're all gathered, Leosin finds his way over to you. Oh, I'm so glad to see you all again. And, well, most of you, I am sorry. I've heard what's happened to Chloe. Hopefully we can find a way around that. Now, are you prepared for what's to come? We'll be speaking with the lords and ladies of Waterdeep. Well, you'll be speaking with them. I'm pointedly not invited.
Oh. Well, that's rude.
Well, there were reasons.
Really?
What kind of reasons?
Indelicate delicacy sort of reasons. There was cake, throwing was involved. I have a bounty. I'm sure they've forgotten most of it, but I mean, there's a possibility that parties involved would be there. So, but Anthar will be there with you, so take heart, stout fellow. Oh, and Meridia, your mother says hello, and to make sure you're eating enough, and I think she wanted me to tell you to ask me something.
To ask you what?
I'm not sure. I was hoping you would know. but we can work that out later.
Great.
Now, if you're all ready, best foot forward and all. First door on the left, straight on till the morning begins.
Going to Neverland?
That seems like a long way to go here.
Yes, it's a never Ember joke, but don't mention it in his presence. He's a little abrupt. So, following those directions, you make your way through and come into a large circular council chamber. There is seating for at least 20 in the center, but only one person sits there. He is well dressed. He is rather broad of shoulder, big, thick beard, wild mane of hair, and a fairly stout drink in his hand. You recognize, by reputation, Lord Neverember, Degult to his few friends, and coming bursting in the room from the other side, Onthar Froom. Onthar rushes across and goes to pick up as many of you as possible in a giant bear hug. I think he's targeting Valandra the most, and then just sort of sweeping along there. Oh, it's so good to see you.
Valandra will hug back much more powerfully than he will remember.
Orc! You've been eating. Good. And he gives you a thwack. And from the seated man you hear, Onthar, please, down. We have a great deal to be accomplished. Now, if you would all please seat yourselves, the lords and ladies are in attendance, and he gestures around the room where you can see that several curtains are hung. Behind them could be sitting anyone. You can't see, it's darker there than it is up here.
Oh,
What
room
is that?
inside.
Oh, what
Wait.
happened?
oh, that was my screen. It was unhappy.
Oh no!
Whoa.
Oh boy.
Behind one of the curtains, electricity crackles, but no light emerges. So, you're gestured for all to sit, and Lord Neverember says, now, I would like to hear any points that you feel are important to present to the lords and the ladies in attendance about a few key moments. The first, and he waits for you all to get seated, is that I understand you raided a hatchery and that several dragon eggs were found. But they were not captured. What is your explanation for that situation? Come. Don't be shy.
I think we're all trying to remember because that was like more than a year
It's
ago.
a
That
long
was a
time
long
ago.
time ago.
It was a very
Long
long
time
time
ago.
ago. It's like,
I actually think Waverly wasn't that. Waverly wasn't on that.
So Waverly's like
I don't know.
hands
I
smacks together, just steps away like.
no, I wasn't there for that one. So
So maybe let's
I was-
think back a little bit then. Originally, several of the villagers were captured, along with Leosin. You went and freed him. You then returned and made your way into a cave infested by kobold, where there were 3 dragon eggs. I, as the GM,
I don't remember there being
That
three.
wasn't us.
No, that
Wasn't
I
that,
recall that.
So here's where I can pretty much assure you.
So what happened was that we saw into the room with the dragon eggs, but we
It
didn't
was-
go that way first because the kobolds made a noise from the other direction, and we didn't
Because
want to get pincered.
Harry the kobold made noise, and I think maybe Harry's with you right now, and he goes, "Arr, arr," and he whispers up, "That was when we distracted you with the drop shield, and then the egg carriers got away." Because I believe you fell for a sound fate then. You did take care of the kobolds, you did rescue the villagers, but several of the kobolds made off with the eggs. And Lord Neverember is asking for your explanation.
I mean, I'm not usually not one to say this explicitly, but human lives in that instance were a little more important, and we had to prioritize. Don't worry, Lord. I will probably never have to say that to you again.
Well, that's at least honest. Now, another moment that we were curious about. The castle would have been a great asset, but it fell from the sky and crashed. Your explanation of that?
From what we know, a vampire killed the giant in a crash,
And what were you doing at that point?
fighting a dragon.
Ah. And Anthor sitting beside, like, go on.
Yeah, go on. This is fascinating.
Big terrifying ice dragon had a massive horde, and basically everybody in charge of the castle said we could ride free as long as we dealt with that. So,
And I mean, if I think the vampire was next on our to-do list.
So you prioritized the destruction of the dragon and access to its horde over capturing control of the castle.
We couldn't capture and control the castle with the dragon still there.
No, and honestly, at that particular moment, the vampire was in hiding, and we hadn't yet figured out where it was.
And we were currently on our way to the castle. Was currently on its way to meet up with the rest of the cult, and the giant wouldn't turn around until we dealt with the dragon, and we didn't want the castle or the horde or the all of the resources there to fall into the cult's hands.
I see.
We didn't even know there was a vampire there at first. That came later.
Yeah, we found out about the vampire later.
Way later.
Y'all should write a book or something. This is great.
And
Please tell me Plaut is eating sweets right now.
If he has any licorice, he's absolutely just nonstop, always got one hanging out of his mouth.
Excellent.
Now, lastly, since the crash of the castle, we've been able to recover what was a very modest amount of treasure from the horde. I understand that several of you took part in an endeavor to retrieve 3 magical weapons that had been captured. That was done successfully. But since then, what have you all been doing?
well, some of us have been trying to help the team here. I mean, Valandra, Mord, and I, we gathered some of the people here, and we went to try and stop them from using a genie to help them summon this dragon goddess.
And when you say they, Who specifically were you fighting against?
They.
The Red Wizards of
not
Thay.
they.
Ah. I'd hoped to have misheard you. Well. That solves one problem and raises another, but it seems that your group has done reasonably well in the best interests for the Sword Coast. And, as the Open Lord of Waterdeep, the Sword Coast is in my best interest. So, we would like to commission you to continue research into and actions against this cult of dragons. Since the crash of the castle, they've gone rather quiet. Our spies and those looking into the situation have not turned up much. We do know of 2 disturbances that we believe them to be linked to. One is an affliction that has been troubling our dragonborn citizens. It strikes them like a wave and throws them into despondency. I understand it's also affecting the dragons. One of our members has brought forth and mentioned the name the Drakhorn, an ancient artifact from the time when dragons ruled. The most knowledgeable sage is located far to the north. We would like you to pay a visit to him, find out more about this Drakhorn, and deal with it. We've placed a bounty of 1 wish. I understand from sources that that may be very appealing to your group.
That's a hell of a bounty for one thing. What's the catch?
Well, the catch is this Drakhorn is affecting every member of the Dragonborn race for as far as we've been able to contact. This is a rather intense matter. We do not know where it is. We do not know how to defeat it. So, that is the catch. Once you have countered the effects of the Drakhorn through capture, destruction, or whatever means this sage may suggest, a wish will be granted to you.
I'm in.
Fair. Now, we also have information regarding one of the higher-ups in the cult. Should the sage not bear fruit, that would be our other path to defeating the Drakhorn and undoing whatever the cult is about. The cultist has been captured by several of the Yuan-Ti, the serpent folk. We have no particular relations with them, no way to negotiate, as our civilizations and theirs are a bit at odds. We're hoping that someone unrelated to our government could go and negotiate or otherwise retrieve the cultist. Does that sound like something your group can handle?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Then, we will provide you with some additional information regarding those situations. The Sage, as I mentioned, is in the far north, up in the frozen sea. The Yuan-Ti are not far from here, to the east. Both opportunities require haste, so I hope there are enough of you to take on both tasks at once. Now, of course, my liaisons will see to the additional details with you, but do you have any questions?
Not as of yet.
One figured out more about those dragon masks?
Ah, the dragon masks. Those seem to be symbols of the leadership. One of the wearers of such a dragon mask is one of the cultists that we are sending you to fetch. If we can attain a mask or one of these cultists for interview, we hope to learn more.
So I get one of these here missions gives you a wish, but the other one seems to just give you like a hearty pat on the back and a job done well. Am I misunderstanding something?
Well, the two do work together to accomplish the wish, but along with that wish, you will receive a special dispensation, giving your group free reign, as it will. Some might say sovereignty, as some of your members have already claimed.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Now, along with that, is there something that you materially desire?
Material, no. There is things that would be beneficial for all of us to have if you have any informative contacts.
Well, between myself and the council, I suspect we know a great deal. What is it you are looking to research?
Talise takes a just a scrap piece of paper, writes down a very specific name, and just passes it over. That's what I want to research, and it's just Rathmodam's name.
All right. And he takes it up and he says, a Thayan name. I'm not familiar with it personally, but we can certainly see what we can do. Unfortunately, conversations with the Thayans cut off rather suddenly lately, and I suspect your association may have been involved in that. There was some hope that they might lend some of their power to us, should it come to blows.
I think your best outcome is if they stay out of it altogether.
We certainly will take that under advisement. But we will do some research for you. That is certainly the least we can do, and the more we know about you and your targets, the better informed we will be. Now, a final point. As you are receiving dispensation from the various kingdoms you will be traveling through, we will need an accounting. There is suspicion amongst the members of the council and some of the representatives of the North that taxes were not paid accurately for some of the fines the group has had. We will, of course, take care of any questions regarding that, but in the future, should the group find itself the beneficiaries of fortune, then proper dues must be paid to the locals where that fortune is found. Am I clear?
Well, I feel like that makes total sense. You know, it seems very fair and just that you would give money depending on where you find it. I don't know where I'm getting that opinion from all of a sudden.
Yeah, where are you?
But I feel very strongly about this all of a sudden.
Channeling from the bubble. So, Never Ember finishes his drink. I bid you all a good day and the best of luck. Should you need me or need to speak with the council, you may certainly call for us. Reports would be appreciated on a monthly basis. Any important news you may forward to my liaisons. Oh, and do tell Leosin when you see him, I will still throw darts at him. And Never Ember rises and moves to leave. You can hear faint rustling behind the curtains as others move to depart, but they leave through their own doorways. You're left in the room with Unthar. He turns looking and says, well, I feel that went very well.
I love how he said taxes have to be paid, and then nobody who actually got the fortune said anything in response.
I don't know that you guys have a conscience, so there we go. But
It's in a bubble.
I don't.
I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure that there was a whole bunch of gold left behind.
Oh, there was a
There's
whole bunch of
ton.
gold and a lot of copper, debased metals. It's fine. But the Unthar turns to you. Now, we have some preparations to do. You'll be traveling to the north, so you'll want some cold weather gear. Make sure you bundle up. You want to stuff a little bit of rabbit down in front of your breastplate, otherwise it gets horrible chill, nipple rubbing. It's terrible. But is there anything else that we can do for you? Of course, the order stands behind you in all things.
Did we get specifics about where the second group was going?
Second group will be heading to the east to the Yuan-Ti, and they are going to a place where things will happen. Why can't I see all my notes? Because I have a search term typed in.
I was going to say the east is kind of a broad term.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were just east.
Well, I mean, you're on the coast, so just about everything is going to be east.
Except for what's west.
Except for the west. But you can get there by heading east if you go far enough. The Dwarf Verum, a wearer of the White Dragon Mask, has been located near the Serpent Hills. And that is hiding from you right now. But we will get you the proper location. It is to the east, I believe east and south of where you currently are. Let's get to the big old map. And as we do that, I know out of characterly, we have arranged for the split in the party based on schedule and other such things. In characterly, is there anything you guys would like to talk amongst yourselves as we prepare for that split?
I don't like the idea of paying taxes to people who I'm pretty sure are just going to be lining their own pocket with it.
That is mighty fine of you to say. You're a good little mouse. You got some good morals.
So there may be some fibbing on the tax return, is what I'm hearing.
Waverly has
there's no lying here. There's only creating truth.
Waverly has her own ideas about how to properly redistribute wealth. So,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
works.
Valandra didn't pay taxes. She just gave 10,000 gold to the Harpers to help the people who were hurt by the cult.
Mhm.
But
Which
she
is
doesn't.
more than enough.
She doesn't feel the need to like argue that point with anyone. She's just gonna do what she feels is right. So
Sure,
she doesn't say anything about it
that's fine.
unless someone asks.
Talise definitely feels like they already got their half. They got their fair share already. So
yeah, right?
they got more than their fair share. Asking for taxes from us is basically going, hey, we'd like some of what you well earned.
Is there really tax on treasure hunting? Really?
Well, there ain't no need to make the rich richer, but I don't think we're treasure hunters. At least that's not my intention. I mean, if we find some that buys us copious amounts of health potions, then that works out well for me.
Copious amounts of health potion indeed. More specifically, from Waterdeep, you will be traveling south along the Trade Way. You can then cut across the High Moor to the Serpent Hills, and that is where the dwarf, the wearer of the White Dragon Mask, is reputed to be held by the Yuan-Ti. To the north, you're going to be heading way up north, up near Icewind Dale, past the spine of the world.
Hey, that's where Dritz lives.
That is. Well, that is where he was sprouted up at, hung out as a child. Now he hangs out down in around this area over here somewhere. Where are you at? Mithril Hall. There you are. Because he's got his own little room. But we're not going there today. So, Onthar bundles about with you, wishing you well, making sure there's now anything else I can do. Just name it. Do you have enough steak, bacon, cheese, beef, corned beef?
Oh, I have plenty of cheese. Don't worry about that.
We can't go anywhere without cheese.
I knew Mord was going to answer that one.
So, now along with this, a member of the party who has joined rather late and simply drifted in along with the others. Let's step a little bit out of character to find out where that fits in, and then pull it back into in character. Ruqiyo, Ruqiyo, what are you? Let's ask you to describe yourself.
Great, sure. Ruqiyo is a Fire Ganassi wizard, mid-30s-ish.
Mhm.
And he specializes, I suppose, in divination. Fortunes told, tea leaves read, lost items found.
Sounds good.
He's got a sign and everything.
Now, one of the things that the party has done over the last few months is acquire a fairly sizable magic item collection. A lot of it from hunting down and trading. I feel that it might be appropriate that Ruqiyo was employed for several of those hunts, given his ability to divine, to find items, and go along with such things. So that seemed like a good hook to me.
I like it.
Say it again?
I said I like it.
Nice. Talise, I believe you did most of the actual legwork there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I would say most likely Talise had met Ruqiyo. Ruqiyo had seen how much money the party was throwing around, and also being a diviner, got some insight that yes, this might be a profitable group to align yourself with. Over the course of the 8 months, I believe the party was also doing some spell research and some questing. So Ruqiyo may have accompanied along for some of those to provide arcane knowledge, insight, and possibly just to watch the kettle boil while some things were being bubbling and brewed. Or possibly to make the kettle boil because I think fire?
Flint and tinder works great, guys.
I
You can
mean,
do it.
but you're so spicy.
And some sort of ice spell gets cast.
I mean, just gotta go counterculture sometimes. So, I feel that may be the tie-in there. And if anybody else has any other hooks that they would like to tie into other potential points of interest, we do have another Ganassi in the party. We have a water Ganassi. The race is fairly rare, especially in this particular area. Probably on par with the number of Tabaxi you might see, of which this party happens to have 2. So they stand out when they move through a crowd.
Although I believe Ruqiyo looks much more human normally. Aside
Yes.
from his eyes.
Except for his eyes, and so long as he keeps his temper in check, he could pass. Just don't look too close.
Fair enough. Valandra's got kind of like a hair thing, but when under the helmet, it just looks like we're hiding a Medusa. And the dampness. Always the dampness. And very rare in the party, and a point of curiosity, a mouse folk who are not frequently seen away from their flying island that we decided that mouse folk belong.
Wait, mouse folk are from Laputa?
The mouse folk are from Laputa.
Now they are.
So that because the DM could not figure out what to do with the mouse folk. The mouse folk are inhabitants of the flying island. They are known as fierce pirates by the cloud giants who just can't see them coming. So they frequently board, raid, and make off with what they consider to be fabulous amounts of wealth, about 3 giant gold coins. And then live like kings. So that is basically what I wanted to make sure we accomplished this evening. We got the party together. We got everybody integrated. We have had Leosin, Onthar, and Lord Neverember present to you. Where we're going to be heading next week is up north to Adventure and out east to Adventure, based on which week we're going with. Now I'm going to kind of turn it over to you all. Any loose ends that we want to tie up, anybody that you want to speak to, anything you want to say amongst yourselves. Otherwise, we can break on an early evening or find something else to do.
Before they split, Valandra will find Joey. And
don't you fucking hug me.
No, she.
Oh no.
She's not going to. She knows you don't like that. Although she really wants to, but she's not going to. And kind of just looking down, she holds out the Horn of Valhalla and says, I was supposed to give this back to Chloe once we met up again, but since I can't do that, and she holds it out to him and finally looks up at him and says, keep them safe, okay?
I mean, shit. Yeah.
Oh.
Of course.
And then Valandra just kind of like holds her arms so that she doesn't try and hug Joey, because it's really hard not to right now.
Fine. And like a awkward awkward hug. Just like I don't know where arms go.
Very, very tight, awkward hug. I think her strength is about yours now.
You hear like a ka-clang as the wings bounce off of mithril armor. Leosin hands a hanky over to Anthar.
Ow. That's so sad.
It is.
So,
so if you've got that, Kyle, I'm gonna delete that off of my list.
Mm-hmm. So several members of the party have managed to obtain favors from several different levels of society. They have managed to acquire some lore about several different subjects, and they have managed to craft and purchase some items. Please make sure you have those done. You will be departing from the area of Waterdeep and heading out to the north and to the east. But it sounds like you're expected to return back and report in, and will be in this town for a while. Are there any people you specifically would like to get to know? Could be something like street thugs, could be something like innkeepers, could be members of the Mages Guild, Thieves Guild, anything along those lines, if you want to put some names to faces.
Dawn would probably be hanging around mages and other spellcasties.
Sure.
His magic took a shift. And he's not quite sure why. But,
Speaking of taking a shift, is anyone visibly or otherwise detectably different over the last few days, weeks, months?
Don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Mord is noticeably less smelly.
Noticeably less.
Noticeably.
Anyone?
I mean,
Like
He also gives off in addition to just not smelling as rank, he smells a little bit like cooking spices, just generally now. Yeah.
So you're no longer actually aging the cheese like in your pocket, you're actually putting a wax rind on it? Nice.
I mean,
Nice.
if Mord is the metaphorical cheese, he still does have just like cheese in pockets.
There we go. So, Mord, it seems, is stepping up in the world.
if anyone pays like close attention to Dawn, they might notice that he doesn't really blink so much anymore.
I would have definitely gone up to Dusk. Like, Dusk and I are close.
Or really like seem like breathe deeply.
Isn't that your sibling over there? She's hanging with a rough crowd, and like I don't know. I imagine Dawn around like a light pole with a bad group around her. Found a leather vest of some kind.
Actually, it's actually kind of funny. Like when Barovia showed back up, like they had been in the one dungeon, and when they came back out, Barovia showed up and they stopped in one of the towns, and like he needed new clothes, so he ended up with Barovian clothes.
Are you still wearing Barovian fashion?
Probably similar, but of better quality, because like you said, it was kind of like ancient.
It is kind of ancient, actually. And on
but
that note,
like half of his clothes got burned off again, so he needed something.
To your surprise and perhaps delight, there's a bit of a renaissance regarding the Barovian clothing style in the city of Waterdeep at the moment. It seems a noble from Barovia is visiting and may have been attending this very council. So there is a bit of a vogue And you can find the Barovian fashions at all the best Hot Topics.
Oh my goodness.
So
Talace will probably spend some time around the docks of Waterdeep, trying to, just put some feelers out about a certain sailor.
certainly. And that was actually a big surprise for me that that was not the name that was dropped, but yes. So the sailor. There are many, many stories, and they generally start out with, "Did you hear about the sailor who?" And then it goes on to recount tales of wrestling Kraken and beating up Sahagin and drinking their way across the sea from one side to the other and swimming and all sorts of stuff. And filtering through the majority, one of the trends that has come up in those tales recently is, have you heard about the sailor who left the sea? And now it's stories of the sailor, ranging over mountains, sailing across the plains. And it seems that it is pointing east and north towards the high forests, the South Wood, and the area of the High Moor. And that is where those tales are currently coming from. Now, most of these stories don't have the sailor by name. It's a better story if it's just the sailor. But you know the footprints that he leaves, and you can suss out a lot of the truth of these stories. And you would say that most likely the sailor is to the north and east, or the north and east, or the south and east, roaming about the forests for some reason.
And she's going to actually keep that to herself.
Sure can.
Falandra had also spent some time digging into those stories.
Sure. Some of the best stories, did you hear about the sailor and Moustachio? So, all sorts of hijinks those two got up to. There was sort of a flip-flop every once in a while as to which one was the straight and which one was the jester, and the other way around. So it was always which way is this tale going to go? Is the Moustachio going to come out on top, or is it going to be the sailor? So it's kind of like when, Chuck Norris versus Bruce Lee, they both win. Superman versus the Flash, it's always a tie.
Yeah, speaking of, I know that I intended to do this, but we didn't actually talk about it during the downtime. But on the trip back, Talace would have been picking Waverly's brain about all of that.
Oh yes, Waverly,
Oh,
about
really?
all of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's her dad. Yes, really.
So, Waverly, about all of that. I believe this harkens back to a year interlude
Yeah.
between when you all left from Greenest and you were all to return to pay your dues to the Warren of Unwanted Burdens. And during that time, I believe Waverly, aka Moustachio
Moustachio the Magnificent.
Moustachio the Magnificent, said while twirling one's whiskers,
Absolutely.
aha. And
yeah.
what were the hijinks that you got up to?
Oh, I was pulling heists.
Heists.
Heists. And I I met the sailor because he was a fence and a smuggler.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have something that you need to turn into raw funds, like large recognizable gems and interesting pieces of artwork. And so I would go hand it over. I'd get some gold. I could spread the gold around to those who needed it. We worked together a while. Had a lot of good times. I mean, I don't think all of these stories that are being told now are probably not all of them are true, but some of them are. He seemed pretty trustworthy when I and like he's one of those. He asked me to join his crew, eventually, and honestly, I was tempted. I was pretty tempted by that. Like I could see myself as a pirate and a sailor, but at the end of the day, like I did have to go back to Greenest, and I thought that would be the last I'd see him, at least for a while.
Talise would ask Waverly the question that's probably going to put everyone on the spot right now. What was his name?
I don't think I knew his name.
I don't think you would, Moustachio.
No,
because I don't think he knew yours.
No, I always just called him the sailor, and he always called me Moustachio. Look, well, you got to be careful with real names when you deal in this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Real names can get traced back to you. Pseudonyms, not so much.
And that is actually one of the reasons that this research has been so difficult and the location so difficult. Many people are willing to take up the guise of the sailor in order to prevent their identity from being known. They do it in different ways, wear eye patches one side or the other, even though he doesn't actually have an eye patch. Their beard's wrong color, but who cares? They just sit in the name and hope that it protects them. At the same time, it actually does protect the sailor. A lot of body doubles out there.
You said recent divinations about the sailor have failed, Kasey?
All divinations about the sailor are effectively useless. He does have magical protection, so I can just flat out tell you that yes, you will not find him via divination. He does have protection against that. And even when you do find, it tends to be a lead to someone who is claiming to be the sailor, but is not the one you're after.
Because I had, before we went to the Doom Vault, previously cast divination and gotten a result on him.
Yes.
So that's a new thing.
Okay. That is he has always had protection. It is not always up and always effective, but
okay,
he will be a very difficult person to locate. Because he does have because he does have problems. But go ahead.
I know Joey would probably be looking into tracking sale of certain material components, and I'd probably try to pull Dawn in on this too.
Okay.
Dawn, hey.
Mm-hmm.
So, Big Boss in the Sky doesn't like it when the drain gets clogged.
Okay.
I need some help finding the place where this drain gets clogged, and then he'll actually tell Dawn like what happened in Parnast.
Okay.
Like what actually?
Yeah, like what actually happened. No.
How much of what actually happened? Are
Yeah,
we talking
how much?
motivation?
How much?
The world wants to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole shebang.
Okay.
Dawn, this guy's really powerful, and he's probably going to be cloning himself a bunch. And, I mean, I know some stuff, but I know clones are expensive, so that means there's got to be stuff to make them, and that stuff's got to be expensive. Can you help me, figure out what it is and help me maybe track it?
You
Shrek.
also probably have a lead in that when Valandra bought you adamantine armor, it happened to be the same set as you'd had previously.
Correct. It was your own armor sold back to you.
Okay, well, we'll rewind about, what, half an hour and 2 hours here. Oh, hey, that's a really nice hug. Oh, also, where'd you find this?
I'll let Kasey fill that in because
Okay.
I don't know specifically.
So
And-
I think we're gonna pull a few hooks here. I think Ruqiyo was able to find that because I think you said, "Hey, I need adamantine armor," and you're like, "I need it about this big," and you hold up like the last time you hugged Joey, and about this tall, and you hold up about the last time you patted him on the head, and you know,
Has
kind of
that
lay
happened?
it out. I mean, I feel like sometimes you get like jump happy. I don't know. You murdered people in like super cold blood. I don't know what you do in your off time. Pat people on the head?
That was one person, and it was an accident.
I was going to say, that was a person that he cold-bloodedly murdered.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when you cold-bloodedly murder a person, how many is it before you know it counts? I didn't know he got like a pass.
He
Hey,
was
I mean, that
dead
was the
for
most
less than 6 seconds.
There's the most I've ever liked Valandra.
So, yeah. So I think, that Ruqiyo was able to find this armor fairly quickly, and did find a highly motivated seller who accepted the gold in exchange. Ruqiyo, the person you exchanged it with, was a tawny-haired man. It doesn't seem too tight to wear armor. It just seemed to have come across it. But such is the adventuring life.
Indeed.
Sold it to you for a reasonable amount. You sort of remember him. And as you describe this person, kind of being brought in the loop here, that does sound like a fair match for the Wizard Wallace.
Like he didn't even disguise himself? What a
Didn't
fucking
even
lazy
disguise
wizard.
Can it be canon that Valandra like was looking over the armor and saw Chloe's handwriting on the butt flap of the armor, scribbled Joey on it? Like the inside butt flap?
You wrote his name on the inside.
Well,
of his butt
otherwise
flap?
he loses his armor if I don't write Joey on it. Then he's like so many pieces of armor he's just lost because he didn't have his name in it.
I'm. Yes.
God fucking damn it, Sin.
Hey, as soon as I left, what happened? You lost your armor. I mean, come on.
But that does mean that I've seen him, but he may end up having the same issue, possibly, that we're having with our other duplicate doppelganger.
So, the Wizard Wallace is, as has been described by Joey, a very powerful wizard, able to cast the clone spell with ease, and in a way that doesn't match up with the standard knowledge of the spell. Usually, once you cast a clone, you can only have one, and then it takes considerable time for another clone to develop. Yet, this wizard seems to have a ready supply of them. More than one fully grown for himself. That takes some specialized magic, pushing him a bit up over the top.
That does. Just the energy consumption alone would be.
Exactly. So that being echoed through the appropriate channels would.
Rolling a 22 Arcana, how much would Dawn know about the clone spell, or like just that information that he could like gather from it?
You're in a fairly sizable city, and you can certainly research it. But while information is available here, really the strongest knowledgeable area about cloning is away into the southeast, considerably farther and a bit south of Thay, though outside of their territories. It's known as the Empire. It is run by a pair of Imperatrices, and the entire city maintains a set of clones. Every citizen has a clone, and from what you understand, a great deal of magic flows in that area. Polymorphs are done as a routine thing. It basically
the Empire.
that is known as the Empire. It simply has not had another name. The rulers are the Imperatrices, so they reference it as the Empire, but they have claimed no name. They state no flag. They are a point of concern.
Yeah, I heard about that place. They all wear white armor. It's real weird. Big helmets. No, they shoot laser gun. Bueller. Back.
They do shoot lasers.
I
I was thinking,
assume
like-
they're not just saying it, but why?
Why? Which?
The everyone has a clone, and
Immortality.
I suppose
That
the
means
white.
they never
the
have to
white.
die.
Oh,
Though having
And the white's just
multiples is
fashionable.
very odd. Because generally, like, isn't it like I have to look at the spell?
Mhm.
Like they're just like inert bodies, right? Until like.
They are an inert body until you die, at which point your soul moves over to the clone, at which point
Gotcha.
you're reborn.
Because it seems like.
But you can't
He
have
ha-
two clones.
Yeah, but like
generally.
he can't like. Like even if he has two clones, it's like, why? Because. Okay, say like his body dies, and like Dawn's just kind of like pondering, like, and he goes into his other clone. Then he does have this other clone, but it's just going to sit there. Are they like?
are they maybe just blanks until the moment of his death?
But he could only use one.
I know.
So.
I mean,
I
this
need a
guy
library.
did have like a weird, like there were lots of him, in that basement, and they were all pretty dumb. But
They
there
were
lots of him.
They were alive and functioning.
I mean, you could say alive. I don't know if you could say functioning. And then I'll just recount. Like there were a lot of basically fake knockoff hymns.
There were a lot of him, and from what you recall, they were what were radiating the aura of undeath that you had all locked in on and descended to go after. So it seems like
Zombie
from what you
versions
investigated,
of himself? Zombie clones?
correct. There were clones, and then there were many dead of him that had been raised as zombies. So he's taken the clone and perhaps some form of lichdom and mixed in an odd way.
Is he
That's
trying to
alarming.
make Horcruxes? Like,
Maybe.
That might not be a terrible way to think about that.
like putting pieces of himself into different bodies?
We have to find Harry, guys.
It's very possible. He's right over there being affected poorly by the Drackhorn.
Yeah, how does this
Also
cloning
something
guy
that needs to be researched.
have anything to do with the cult, or is he just evil all on his own, perverting nature like he's doing?
There are plenty of people all on their own.
Well, no doubt there. But is this guy on our list? Because I'm fine with that, if that's on our list. I don't write none too well, but I can remember.
He's on my list.
Then yes.
Plaut's gonna lean over to Dusk, and by now, I think if Dusk is okay with it, he would have developed the nickname Fluffy for her.
That's beautiful.
No problem. with
and-
this nickname.
Just kind of chew on some licorice and be like, Fluffy, what's What's with the big green one and the tiny little burnt kitty? Like they're close?
No more. He's fine again.
Oh gosh.
You just always keep like 3 steps away from me, don't you?
Wait, who was that directed at?
Oh, sorry.
The kitty. The
kitty.
once burnt
The other
kitty.
kitty. The burnt kitty.
The burnt kitty.
I don't think he takes 3 steps away, but just like tension and like I mentioned before, he doesn't really blink, so there might be like unsettling glares in your direction that you don't know why for.
Okay.
But
Do you flinch at fire like a cat does with a cucumber? It's like,
he
ah!
did do that at some point, but I don't remember what it was for. Like he rolled a 1 on something. And he just poofed. He leaped. But
Oh my god.
he's not a fan. No.
Dawn, this is kind of rude.
And
I'm amused at the dynamic. I'm a little sad we won't get to see it too much more since you're in separate parties, but the confliction between Dawn's aversion to the Fire Ganassi and having someone to actually talk magic with.
We can exchange numbers. Pen pals. Sending pals.
I think we'd all have like one final dinner, some long table, 2 sides, just kind of before we part ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, kitty. I don't remember if I ever mentioned to you, but way back after the castle crashed and before we all split up, Dawn has very specific, not so good feelings towards Harry, and he had a plan on doing not nice things to Harry.
No.
And I wanted to warn you about them first to see, if it would like destroy Dusk, I won't do it. But he does have thought, like, especially that Dusk is back again and Harry is still with her. He blames Harry for a lot of, like, cause he doesn't really feel that she's family anymore because of him. And he wanted to poison Harry to death. So,
oh boy.
If you don't want that to happen, it doesn't have to, but like we could roll at some point to see, especially since Harry's back in the vicinity of him now.
Yeah, please, like, Harry is always very close to Dusk, mostly because she's just very protective of him. And he's part of the family, and he's just very sad that the others don't seem to also consider him.
He blames Harry for how she wasn't there for him. And, like, that was the whole start of him being melted and set on fire and, like, all of that. So, like, he is not a fan.
I love that you're, like, not separating the whole, like, what happened to Dawn separately and also the Harry thing. You're just like, I need something to hate. There it is. That's the start of it.
That's it. That's like, but yeah, that was something that he was planning, like, right after the castle crash, but like we all split up and like timing just didn't work out right. But
Harry was actually kind of missing after the initial crash,
yeah.
so part of
so yeah, part of that I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
And then after Harry was retrieved and Dusk took a look around, everybody was like, Gonsville!
Yeah, like a big ice castle crashed and we all yelled scatter and then just gone. Yeah.
So,
I think
yeah,
Plaut-
but like she went after Harry and didn't like come with him or the rest of the group or whatever. So he's like it's not really irrational, like when you think about it, but like
I mean, like,
there's a lot of hate.
Him, and if nobody else wanted to come look for him, she wasn't just gonna come abandon him.
Yes, but actual family, you know?
He is actual family.
He is a slave pet that you picked up in a hole.
Wow.
I hope you guys are
And
actually
you
having this
back
conversation at the
and
table.
just find something very interesting on the wall to look at.
Plaut leans in.
Mord's just making this dinner, so he can't hear this.
Somebody tell me somebody bought more chef hat.
Oh my god.
Kasey, how much is a chef hat?
How blingy do you want it to be?
Hold on, I do have cook
Does he have-
utensils. That
does
is
he
a
have
cook
a-
utensil.
A kiss the cook apron.
I mean, these are all things that can happen. Embroidery is available.
Valandra's probably helping Mord cook the meal, but she does have a passive perception of a 24, so she might still be able to hear it.
Wait, so
I feel like you guys are never subtle. So...
Yeah, that's fair.
wait, so Fluffit, your little friend that you came over to Cholt with, is that this one is your real family, and then this one doesn't like that one? Is that about right?
I mean, I consider them all my family, but the issue is those ones don't consider him family.
I mean, I'm not choosing sides here, but I will say he has a definite lack of fur on his exterior.
He actively tried to kill us.
Huh.
And she just decided he was cute.
How big is Harry? Like, how tall is Harry?
Harry, I think Harry is like 1.5 feet tops. I mean, he's a
yeah.
tiny kobold.
That's what I thought. So Plaut at his, like, 6+ foot, like, just kind of stands next to Harry and looks down, and then looks at everybody else, and then looks down, and it's like, uh-huh. Alright.
Like, Harry, like, sensing the tension in the air, and despite his recent infirm spells, offers up like a friendship bracelet made of tumbled stone.
Aww, I love him.
Too.
He's just offering around like, I think we need these. Like,
He's such a sweetheart.
Alright, well, you don't just say no to gifts, so. And you have to give one in return? Random gift in return.
Just know that basically, if anyone accepts the bracelets, Dusk is going to be beaming at them.
No, Dodd's like he's going to get like the death glare of all death glares if he tries to give him something. He'll just stare at it and then down at him.
I feel like
I
Don...
mean, it seems like
and the
everybody's
tail
interested.
like
So
shuddering.
Harry does give Ruqiyo one, and then he's handing them out, and these are all actually very interesting stones because they were gathered in Cholt, and he's been tumbling them since they made their trip back. So these are unusual mineral and combinations, and some of them actually look very glass-like.
Oh, this was that annoying little sound, tick, tick, ticking every night when we were trying to get to sleep.
It's
pretty silent.
it's still a rock tumbler. You did amazing, but it's still a rock tumbler. So it's still got a shooshing noise at least. Kind of a white noise effect though.
I imagine Dawn's just like maintaining eye contact and doing the Ron Swanson thing where he tastes turkey bacon or whatever, where he's just like, "Can I have one?" and then immediately throws in the garbage.
Throws it away.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's the vegan bacon, yeah.
Yeah.
So Harry, now he's looking rough, and it looks like his scales are laid down wrong at this point. And you've seen it happen to him where all of a sudden he's just struck by this wave, and it makes a whole scintillating color run through his body, and his scales all bristle out, and they never quite settle right with him.
I don't suppose he would allow me to, take some notes and do some sort of study. Not the time for that.
Oh, that actually makes me ask. Is it always the same color that seems to ripple over him, or?
No, it looks, though you've noticed, as you've done your adventuring, you've noticed that kobolds tend to take on the coloration of the nearest dragon. So if they are near a white dragon, their scales tend to shift to white. If they're near a black dragon, they shift to black, and so on. And if they're not with any dragon, like there's no one around, it's sort of a muddy reddish color. Looking as if like all the colors had blended together and maybe red was the predominant. But when it hits him, it just looks like for a moment they just all spaz out like they don't know what to do.
Oh no.
There are many dragons.
Yeah, it's just like bleh. And it's not like a pretty like rainbow. It's just like color gone. And then he looks a little washed out afterwards, and uncomfortable.
Our little dragon detector's on the fritz.
I mean, Dusk's been doing the best she can just to, try and keep him comfortable, but in the end, she still has no idea how to treat these.
Sure. And it seems like the Dragonborn in the area, they're not very common, but they seem to have a pounding headache at about the same time that Harry has that effect. So they all have just bad-tempered and grumpy as a whole. Like, they all seem to have like come down with the flu as a race. And similar effects have been hinted at amongst the dragons themselves.
Has there been any report of there being clearly the Dragonborn and the Kobold have different symptoms? I would be interested in comparing those symptoms to something possibly more or less dragony than them.
Sure.
Anyone have a pet wyvern in, outside of Waterdeep?
Isn't that a bit of a rough spot?
Nah.
Pseudo-dragons, wyverns, there are several hunting things. Many of those are in the employ of the cult, but you don't know of any.
Kira, is
What about
your
yours?
familiar a pseudo-dragon right now? Or is it a sprite?
So no matter what form they take, they're always Fey, Celestial, or the other one, Infernal.
Not dragon. It may
Not
just
dragon.
look like a dragon.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure if it would have an effect.
No, they're really good at pretending to be other things, but they are not truly other things.
Starts acting sick and we call him on it.
That's kind of adorable, though. Like, oh, he wants to be just like the other big dragon.
That's so cute.
So, I guess after this delicious meal, we're about to all part ways for question mark amounts of time.
They're hoping you'll be back within the month or so.
Oh,
They
okay.
have questions they want to ask.
I hope they have a turtle-sized horse then, because I don't move too fast. And apparently, we're going real north where it's real cold.
That is true. Which brings us to a couple of questions that we'll lead into on the way out here. You have been given special dispensation to travel through the lands and investigate in places that normally they would be like, hey, are you supposed to be here? And also to carry weapons that they normally be like, yeah, that's going to come with us. So, the question comes up, how would you like to travel? From Waterdeep, you can take and commission a boat all the way up to Luskin and beyond. Or you could take the high road or the long road, or some other method of travel. What would you like to do?
Well, Dawn did have a special carriage built. if
That
you
is
want
true.
To take that.
Road trip.
Be a bit more comfortable than a cart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're looking at us being back in a month, like, how long is that trip from Waterdeep to all the way up there? Because I remember when we were on the wagon trail, and that thing was like years.
It wasn't years, but they might be expecting you to move faster. You don't have to move that fast. And you were also traveling on a fairly slow set of trade wagons as compared to, moving at high speed. So we'll get you some travel times together. If you think it'll take you longer, they will look disappointed, but they will accept it. Ships are fast, though.
So when we come back, like out of character, when we come back, are we just gonna bibbity-boppity boop the travel, or are we role-playing a little bit of that out?
So we will have a little bit of travel, probably not a lot. Just more along the lines of, hey, how you're getting there will affect, one, the expense of getting there, and two, what you can bring with you. You could pay to bring a carriage on a boat, but it would cost a significant amount of money. You could rush along the roads. It would just take a little more time. Most wandering monster style encounters, you guys just take care of. Some planned wandering monster style encounters might come up, but a band of orcs versus you guys, I'm just handing you orc heads, and you don't need any more.
So, I just wanted to say, like, at some point, Plaut would try and bond with Danger Mouse by carrying her in one of these fancy-looking things, if this is coming through on the stream, I think. Yeah. One of these fancy-looking guys here. Plaut just eventually kind of transforms and puts, I would imagine either, you can either ride on the back or, I think I got a safety pouch here in the beak. I promise I won't swallow you. But it's up to you how you want to ride. Be fun. I'd say I'd show you the sky, but I feel like you already been there.
So, that's a thing that you can turn into.
You ain't seen the half of it yet.
Oh my.
So, giant bird dinosaurs are an option now.
Birdosaur.
All birds are dinosaurs.
I mean...
Jurassic Park is truth.
Fair. I don't remember. Never mind. Sorry, having a flashback to a different stream. So...
Also, before we split parties, Valandra would give 4 regular healing potions to Joey, Plaut, Dawn, Dusk, and Waverly.
Okay. Healing potion dispersal. Each of you mentioned, please add 4 healing potions.
Oh my god, yes.
To your sheet.
That's...
Thank you.
Dawn has a large amount.
I mean, you can give them to other people if you want to,
Yes.
but she handed
They'll
those
be
out.
shared.
I have a feeling these are gonna come in mighty handy. Thank you.
Waverly looks like the panda from...
There were a bunch of scrolls and a bunch of potions made in the downtime.
And if anybody wants to trade off things, feel free to take care of that during the downtime. Otherwise, we will prep to break, I think. Thank you all. Good session. Glad everybody got back into character. And looking forward to adventure times next week. As you might suspect, I am absolutely avoiding any sort of combat situation with all 10 of you until we get to the point where all 10 of you will be necessary, because as the pictures indicate, there's a lot of heads on Tiamat, so we'll see how that one go.
Everyone gets a head.
Well, it's two per head.
Two per head.
Yeah.
She also has claws, tails, and wings, so she's got enough attacks to handle all of you.
That's 10 then, yeah.
Yep.
That's 10.
She's
Everyone
on.
has a head, claw, tail, or wing.
Yep. Who knew that this entire module was designed for a 10-person team? But we'll get back to that a couple of sessions out. Each of you, I'm thinking, will probably have 3 sessions per little quest bit. So we will probably have 6, 12, 15-ish weeks doing individual quests, then start moving together, and then final set. And I'm really bad at estimating times, so ignore all that. That's just the plan. How it really plays out, we'll figure out. And there are also some side quests that I'm sure people will want to pursue, including the Merid, the Sailor, Chloe, Wallace, and cooking ingredient gathering for Mord. Special mushrooms.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Cooking
We had some really good crab about a year back.
Yes, that's true. Fresh boiled too.
How long has it been since they left Greenest?
It has been almost exactly 1 year. So
Waverly's 7 years old now.
All this, see that?
Valandra is 15.
Talaise is 21.
Oh gosh, y'all are babies. Okay.
So,
like
excuse me.
146.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were older than that.
7 is
I don't
an
remember
adult
exactly.
for a mouse folk. 7
Yes.
is an adult.
That is fair.
Mouse folk are considered adult at 5. So
You're 171 now, Mort, according to the character sheet.
Cool. I
But
didn't
you don't
get
look
to
a
that
day
part
over
yet.
170.
Oh,
Wait, so
jeez.
how long has it been?
Gonna make me blush.
All right. So thank you all. We'll pick back up again next week. Thank you, Twitch. Thank you, Eric. I saw you out there. Thanks for swinging by. Looking forward to all the adventuring and stuff. We'll be running the normal streams with the adventures probably from about 8 to about 11. So we'll be able to pack in a little bit more per session. And tonight
I was gonna ask about that, Kasey, because both Kira and I would do better starting at the usual 7 Eastern for our group.
Okay, so let's take that one off stream and just remind me who's all in which group and see if we can get everybody
Hey, you know what,
to
Kasey?
agree. Yeah.
I'm putting a link in Twitch chat, so in case we need other people to find out when and what's going on, I updated that with the times as they are right now and the players in each group.
That's
What
true.
group is starting next week?
Group 1.
Who's group 1?
yeah,
That was the group with Valandra and Talaise and Ruqiyo and Mord and Meridia in it.
Meridia.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Talaise probably won't be with you guys that week.
Okay. I think we had people from both groups out that week.
Well, it wasn't that we had people from the other group out that week. It was that a couple weeks down the line, if we kept with the alternate, we were going to be missing both Sin and Kyle another week.
Okay. So we will break and go offline on that one, and I will ask you guys to talk amongst yourselves in your groups. Let me know the best start and end times for the group. 8 to 11 is the baseline, and we'll narrow it down.
Let me know and I'll update the websites.
And then we'll update the website. So if everybody in group Flying Weasels can meet at 7 to 10, that's fine. And if group fighting mongooses is all good for 8 to 11, that's fine too. I'm pretty flexible in that 4 to 5 hour span. And then we'll be organized like real adults, I guess.
None of those names are really
Whoa.
good identifiers. I still don't know who you're talking
Like
about.
pretend adults.
Let's all
Yes.
argue about animals now.
Yes.
No, sorry, that's just my my bad Futurama reference that nobody ever gets. But that's
Anyway, let's
So-
end on that awkward note, eh, Kasey? I'm gonna stop the stream.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
See something next week at some time.
Yes, something some week next time. Check out CaptainR3boot.com for the schedule and the cool stuff that Sin will be pressured into posting up as soon as she realizes that the public can see it.
Yay!
Yay!
Wait, what? Okay.
What?